Young African-American males are at risk. By their mid-30s, 6 out of 10 black men who have quit high school have done time in prison. Find out what a social entrepreneur does through cardinal principles of manhood, character building, and education to change this trend. Next on Living Smart. Hello, I'm Patricia Gras. Welcome to Living Smart, the show designed to help you get the most out of life. On today's show, Dr. Anthony Green shares how he turned troublemakers into scholars. He's the director of a successful after-school program for young males. He shares his tips on how he builds character and instills interpersonal and conflict resolution skills for his young students to thrive in life as well as the classroom.
This is our cultural awareness. You notice the artistic.
If educator Dr. Anthony Green has a say in the matter, these young boys will beat the odds and overcome societal challenges that could hamper their dreams.
Signs of the time.
Today, for young black males, joblessness and incarceration rates are at an all-time high. With 70% of black babies born out of wedlock, families are stressed and adrift. Dr. Green decided to do something about it.
Intervention program that will prevent. I said, well, if we get the social skills together, the academics will come. If I get your focus and your attention and the discipline down, then you can learn something. We focus on interpersonal skills, social skills, character education, which will lead you into the workforce.
In 1999, as a teacher at Kelso Elementary, Dr. Green started the after-school program for his all-boys class in his own time. It is called MAIL, Men Aspiring Leaders Through Education.
When I started teaching those all-boys class, I saw the lack of support, the lack of role models and fathers involved in it. So I say, I think this is my calling right here, so I can be a mentor for those boys as I'm teaching them.
Dr. Green was the first to get a PhD in his family. He was raised by hard-working class parents, but life took a turn when he was only 14.
The Willow Ridge High School years. We moved here in 1987, and a year later my mother passed. I remember very vividly going to school and kissed her that morning, came back that evening. Mom was in the hospital, comatose, aneurysm, basically brain dead.
Green's father quit his insurance sales job to raise 3 boys on his own. Anthony was the middle child.
I kind of took that death experience and turned into a inspiration in terms of I want to make Mom proud and pretend as if she was here, and if she was looking down on me, I would want her to be proud and continue her legacy in terms of, I remember her motto was just, get your education.
He graduated with a low average, but managed to attend a small African-American college where he ran with the wrong crowd.
I was kidnapped, guys thinking we were involved in drug deals and gangs.
He escaped, but life was never the same.
And I said, it's time to really get serious now.
It's such a warm day today. Could I have some, Mom?
Green credits his family and church for having faith in him, especially his widowed father.
He was a leader back then, and I said, this is going to be something one day, you know? And he always used to let the other two know, one for all and all for one has been our motto all the years long, and he never let them forget that.
Green says his grandmother, who lived in a time of segregation and cleaned houses for a living, gave him the best advice.
The most important thing is to do unto others you want them to do unto you. That's the main important thing.
And Green also had help from his local church.
And so what we tried to do was lay some life principles for him, to be honest, to be forthright, to be truthful, to always respect people and stuff like that. And he did it. He was a wonderful student of character.
The mentor program he created has already touched the lives of over 200 boys and inspired Dr. Green to get his own PhD in education with a focus on school violence prevention.
My name is Joseph Butler. I grew up in a community just like you guys grew up in.
Green partners with business and community leaders to influence the boys. Butler is an oil and gas executive who sponsors the program.
What you have left is what you put in here. How you develop in here, your mind, education.
Now at Manning Elementary, every class of boys he's taught has scored higher than 96% on the TOKS, or Texas Assessment of Knowledge and Skills test.
The ultimate goal is to groom our males and enhance their social skills and academics through scholarship, and where we can reshape our communities and reconstruct our communities where they will become prominent, productive, positive citizens and be able to give back and help others as well.
As for the kids who have stayed in the program, the future already looks brighter. This protege now publishes a paper with his dad.
The most important thing I've learned from Dr. Green is that education is important, and without it, your opportunity of success is limited.
These children, once troublemakers, are now above average students.
It has inspired me to do better in school and education.
What I have got out of this program is life skills that help me throughout my life.
You having fun?
Green, who is now raising his own child with his wife, wants a better future for him and his students. So he plans to develop a new anti-violence curriculum for schools and a new boys' academy based on academics, character, and social skills.
Our target population is the most vulnerable population at the present time right now, because once we don't look up, they're going to be extinct. The sooner you can catch them and teach them about conflict resolution skills, then when they get to middle school or in them adolescent years and those peer pressure years, they will have some foundation to know how to combat those what's about to occur. You can't get nowhere fussing and fighting and bullying and picking on.
Dr. Green, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you. Now, you chose to do your master's thesis, your PhD thesis, on school violence prevention.
Yes.
How do you reduce violence prevention? I mean, how do you reduce violence in our youth? You're working with middle school children.
Yes, implementing early. Early intervention is the key.
Okay.
Yes.
What do you start with? How do you teach them, hey, this is not the way to go?
Social skills, interpersonal skills, empathy, problem solving, impulse behavior, problem solving skills, and teach them various different techniques to apply as they occur in various different social situations.
Give me an example for like problem solving skills. How do you teach a 10-year-old, hey, you got a problem, this is how you deal with it?
Yes. For example, you have a problem, this is how you deal with it. You identify the problem, and at the same time you're seeking solutions. And if you need to calm down, take a deep breath, what have you, then you utilize the techniques and the skills through the conflict resolution model. Mm-hmm. And it enhances the skills to address the problem.
Like you said, a model. What would that model be, for example?
For example, the second step curriculum is a violence prevention curriculum. And what the students learn is to actually address the problem, then think about the consequences.
Oh, okay. Of the problem. Okay, let's talk about, later on we'll talk about the character building skills in children, but one of the things that I thought was very important, sort of like a core thing, is self-respect.
Oh, yes.
You teach them to have self-respect.
Definitely.
How do you do that with a child? How do you teach somebody self-respect?
Self-respect, you start with character building, which is a character trait, and to respect others' differences and to treat others the way one would want to be treated. And so we implement that within the school day, after school, and even at home.
Mm-hmm. You said, some of those skills are like, you don't lie, you don't cheat.
Yes.
And, I mean, you think, okay, well, that's common sense, but no.
No, it's not.
Why? Is it because they see it a lot?
And actually, oftentimes they think that it's the norm to be dishonest.
Okay.
And to actually get over and to cheat as if that's the way to go.
That's the way to get ahead.
Yeah, it's the way to get ahead. But actually, it leads to a negative consequence.
Now, you also teach them to find a mentor.
Yeah.
Tell me how you do that.
Well, we start with the home. And oftentimes, unfortunately, home is not there, so there is no home. So you find a family member or a teacher in the community or even one of your peers.
It can be a peer.
Yes,
as long as they're Like you said, you know, they're not cheating or lying. They're role models.
That's right.
You also talk about, we talked about the illegitimacy factor and how that's a cycle. Yeah. A lot of these kids are born with no father figure, and you are trying to stop that, saying you can't do that yourselves. How do you teach a 9, 10-year-old boy, you can't do whatever your father did?
I'm glad you said the 9-10 because the age is very important. So it's very important to teach sacredness within family, man, wife, husband, even sex, according to the age difference. So it's very important, and oftentimes we leave our children to the education system to teach it, but it needs to start at home.
So let's say they don't have a father, a mother's never around. How do you teach a man to be a man? What are some of the things that you're teaching these boys?
Male aspirations in terms of grooming and what men do. And we know that men can't teach girls what women can teach girls, females can teach girls, and vice versa. And so what we do is try to implement self-empowerment as well.
Now, give me examples of that.
For example, mannerisms. And it's different in various different cultures, but self-respect in terms of what men do, and the appropriate social norms for what a man should do in terms of etiquette, mannerism, for example, growing up to be from a boy to a man, rites of passage, pretty much.
So you'd have specific rites of passage that you're teaching these kids?
Yes.
Are you doing that through seminars, books, presentations, guests?
The curriculum is definitely addresses that, and a variety, yes, seminars, books, workshops,
so they can see people they look up to. Obviously, you have a tremendous influence on these boys. They probably see you as a father figure. Yeah. You talked about the word sacred. When you say the word sacred, how do you translate that to a child? Sex is sacred. You are sacred.
Actually, we focus on, according to the age group, where you're teaching them about sacredness, and there's certain principles that underlie in terms of what's sacred and what's not sacred.
You say that these kids are very much into entertainment, that they're bombarded with entertainment. They have little time to really be aware, to observe what's going on around them. How do you make them more aware? How do you pull them out of all that entertainment? All kids are pretty much victims of this. Pull them out to become more observant, because you said they have to become more observant and aware.
Oh, yes, definitely.
How do you do that?
Well, what we do, we teach in terms of learn to entertain yourself. And there's a variety of entertainment, but we found that there's a lot of negative entertainment, whether it's video games, media, what have you, in the communities, what have you. But we're teaching to actually focus on positiveness opposed to negative.
Give me an example of a success story. I know you have many. I mean, your boys are doing well.
Yes.
Give me a story. You shared a story of a young man that was really on that doing very badly.
Oh, yes. Actually, due to family situations, circumstances, drugs, no father. Actually, I started teaching this young man in the 3rd grade, and now he's in the 9th grade. So 6 years have gone by, and we have built this relationship. And he was on the verge of becoming a juvenile and heading down the wrong path, but through the program, he actually shared with the program and his family that it has encouraged him to do much better and make positive decisions, healthy decisions.
What do you think did it? Was it your relationship with him, that you were paying more attention to him? What do you think did it?
Just needed guidance. And nurturing, yes. And that mentorship.
You also suggest to your kids, and I found this very interesting, to journal.
Oh, yes.
Why?
It's good to, it's very important to document. I used to think that journaling was only for the girls as journal and diary.
Right.
But when you reflect back on the day, the week, the year, you take what you have journaled and what happened and either improve on it and ameliorate to become better than you were yesterday.
You stress the fact that these kids have got to have social skills before they even get interested in education, and yet you instill education. You believe that's the only way to get out of whatever situation, bad situation that they're in. How do you instill that passion in them, the passion to learn?
Actually, they actually are born
with
a passion to learn.
Interesting.
At the age of 3 years old, research and psychologists, psychiatrists have proven that the brain is automatically a sponge.
Right, it is.
And so with the nourishment and the mentor and the guidance, wanting to learn and grasp various different things, it's already there. So anything that's healthy will grow.
Give me examples of how social skills affect academics. You're very adamant about them learning social skills.
Oh,
how
yes.
to talk, how to sit, how to groom themselves. Tell me how that happens.
Research proves that when one feels safe and one feels good about oneself, then the academics actually enhances as well, because you're focused, you're not fearful, but social skills, and it actually overlaps into the workforce.
So you're saying that social skills may give them a sense of safety, knowing how to sit, knowing how to dress, knowing how to talk.
Oh, yes, definitely.
So you teach them yes, sir, no, sir,
across
respect.
The board. Yes, respect,
I noticed that with
integrity,
these kids.
Determination, perseverance.
One of the reasons I felt this was important is we had Columbine and then we had Virginia Tech. What happened there? What do you think was the biggest failure in these situations?
I believe lack of prevention, intense prevention, because of course there was some prevention, but the intensity, and somehow, some way, there was oversight in terms of what these young men were thinking and were capable of doing.
They weren't being watched. Nobody was paying attention to them.
No, not at all. The monitoring, they say it was there, but some way somebody's sliding through the cracks. But we need some intensive prevention and monitoring.
Do you feel that the kids are responding to you also because you sort of create a safe environment for them, a familiar environment for them?
Oh, yes, and actually build a rapport, relationship when one can relate. One feels safe where they can share what they really feel.
Right. Bullying was one of the reasons that was given for both of those incidents. These kids have been bullied. And how do you teach a child to cope with bullying? What are they supposed to do? Do you give them steps? If somebody bullies you, how do you handle that?
Actually, I share with them first, you tell an adult. And
you tell an adult.
You share the situation with an adult, someone who's responsible, who can make some decisions.
Okay.
And second of all, if it continues, then you don't take it into your own hands, the situation into your own hands, but you identify the feelings and others' feelings as well. And those various different techniques that you learn through social skills, you use it to combat the bullying.
Give me an example of that. Let's say I'm bullying you, and could you actually, as a child, say, you must be feeling pretty bad today that you need to do this, that you need to call me names and tease me. I mean, is that something that you teach them?
Exactly what we do. That's exactly what I share with them.
Do you role play with these kids?
Scenarios and role playing is very important. You have to put yourself in that situation and play that role as if it's actually you are the victim or the perpetrator.
In this work, I'm sure you get some days where you're frustrated.
Oh, yes.
What is most challenging for you? What's the hardest part for you to do this kind of work?
Well, actually, it's not. Actually, when you have a passion for something, you enjoy doing it, you actually do well at it. So it's very challenging, but at the same time, work hard at it and go back to the drawing see what worked, see what didn't work.
Okay, so a trial and error. You said also that it's hard to get the parents involved. Why is that? Are they just overworked? What's going on?
Well, a lot of times grandparents are raising our children.
That's right.
They don't have the energy and can't get involved or get down there with the homework. And a lot of times, often teenagers are having babies as well, and they haven't been educated and don't really have those parenting skills.
Do you teach in parenting skills?
Oh, yes. We actually have workshops that involve the parents as well because they go hand in hand. And I believe that we are a tag team in terms of the parent, the school, and the child.
What do you teach them about etiquette and manners?
It's very important. Actually, it'll take you a long way. You may not be an honor roll student, but with manners and character and etiquette, you can actually persevere.
Give me an example of how you teach them, you know, character and etiquette, manners and etiquette.
Manners, for example. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yes. I mean, from sitting at the table the proper way, not slumped over.
I notice you also teach them to look at someone in the eye when they're greeting.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Because a lot of them are very shy, they're very insecure. So you teach them that as well.
We definitely implement it, yes.
What are some of the steps you teach them about conflict resolution? You're teaching interpersonal skills and conflict resolution skills. What exactly does that mean?
That means being able to resolve a conflict. Yes. Any two forms of forces that oppose against each other, it becomes a conflict. And so...
I'm sorry.
Actually, we teach those various different techniques. Again, being able to recognize other people's feelings.
Okay, empathy.
Empathy, exactly. Impulse behavior, problem-solving skills. And so when they learn those various different techniques and apply it, they're able to actually resolve the conflict, whether it's walking away or whether it's taking some deep breaths or just calming down before they actually act upon the situation.
Breathe.
Yeah.
Empathy. How do you teach a child to be empathetic? What do you say?
Being able to identify others' feelings.
Others' pain.
Others' pain.
How do you do that, though?
Well, being considerate of others' feelings, and again, that goes back to respect, being able to recognize and accept differences.
How do you told me that language is very important also. How do you teach them that language is key in the way people act towards each other?
Oh, yes. Language across the board. That's a big umbrella, whether it's body language, actually language and dialogue. But actually what we say is to consider other language and communication skills, basically. Communication skills is very important.
Give me an example of a communication skill that you teach them.
Well,
basic.
Again, body language. Looking one in the eye.
They don't want to walk around like that. You know, they walk up straight, sit straight.
Yeah, head up, chest out, looking one in the eye. That plays a very important role.
How, you know, obviously to do the work that you do, you have to instill discipline.
Oh, yes.
How do you do that?
Discipline, I teach them to control your behavior.
Their impulses.
Your impulses.
So when someone is misbehaving, how do you handle that? Your class is doing pretty well, but you got one kid that's acting out. What do you do? Well, I know what they used to do with me. They used to send me to the corner.
Right.
What did they do? What do you do with the kids?
We don't just respond in a negative manner.
Okay. You don't embarrass them, in other words.
We don't embarrass, no, because that's the number one.
That doesn't work.
No, you get a bad response because they're so used to being embarrassed.
Right.
And so what we do is ask the question, is that proper? Is that appropriate? Is that a nice thing to do or say? And we try to make them to self-evaluate.
Ah, very good. So you ask them a question, why are you acting this way?
Exactly.
And they do respond.
Oh, they respond. And they self-check themselves.
Now, character building. How do you build character in a child? What is it that it takes to do that?
Actually, just studying the traits. Being knowledgeable of...
Like integrity.
Integrity. Perseverance, patience, compassion, tenacity, determination, respect. And what we do is actually give them an assignment every day at home, at school, and come back and share.
Oh.
And they put themselves in that situation and role play, and they actually have to identify which trait was that. Yes, trustworthiness, honesty.
Interesting. Now, you told me you also have to teach them about financial literacy.
Oh,
what exactly do you teach these kids about money?
Well, how to save, manage, how to actually start a bank account. And at the elementary level, we actually start with how to making good decisions in terms of spending it rather than saving it or investing in themselves, things like that.
So you teach them to take that money, hold it, wait before you go out and spend it,
yes,
right?
And
save a little bit every day. How do you know you're living smart?
Well, when you're making healthy decisions financially and making a positive impact in society and contributing to society as a member. And so living smart is a self-conscious thing, because one thinks that living smart can be just academics. But actually, I believe living smart, you know you're living smart when others can congratulate you and celebrate you, and you have made a positive impact in their lives, and others have made an impact in your life.
Thank you so much for joining us,
Thank you
Dr.
for
Green.
having me.
And to learn more about this topic, go to our website. There you'll also find a complete resource list. You can also email us or call us with your comments at 713-743-8513. And that's our show for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Remember to live smart. I'm Patricia Gras. Have a great week.
For a transcript of this program, send $6.95 to the address on your screen. Please include the name of the guest.